Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again. And we're going to review now The Gentleman, a gangster movie, British kind of comedy gangster movie that I think was released late last year in cinemas, and I think it's now recently just come onto streaming platforms. And this is your typical kind of Guy Ritchie gangster comic caper. You know, many people pointed out this is a return to his kind of favourite genre. He stepped away from it a few times recently with the Aladdin live action remake and the King Arthur Legend of the Sword, I think it was called, movies as well. But this is him coming back, if you like, to his roots, if you like, and I think a lot of people were pleased with this. It basically tells the story of certain characters within a criminal organisation. So it stars Matthew McConaughey, we have Hugh Grant, we have Charlie Hunnam involved in it, Michelle Dockery is in this. It also stars Henry Golding and also Colin Farrell as well in this film. So the events of this is basically we have a journalist, Hugh Grant, and he's a typical kind of really kind of sleazy, scummy kind of journalists. You know, the typical ones that are always chasing the scandals within celebrities, looking for those hidden private stories. And he works for, I think, the Sun newspaper, you know, the tabloid headline like stories. And he comes across to Charlie Hunnam's house. Charlie Hunnam is basically the right hand man for Matthew McConaughey, who is this main gangster in charge of this massive marijuana operation. He's got all of these marijuana stashes all over the UK. He's this renowned gangster, and he's basically looking to exit the field and maybe go legit and stay with his wife. And Hugh Grant comes to Charlie Hunnam basically saying that he's got all of the detailed information on Matthew McConaughey's operation, and he basically wants money for it. He wants, I think, 20 million for it, and in turn he can give him all the detailed information he's got, and also let Charlie Hunnam know who's kind of working against Matthew McConaughey's operations. And as we go on through the film, we see various gangsters and villains pop up here and there. Everybody's kind of double crossing, triple crossing people, trying to take over everybody's territory. Some are working for you, some are working against you. We get kind of back and forth into all these kind of very introvert or extroverted characters, typical Guy Ritchie stuff, and the story unfolds as you watch the film overall. So that's kind of like me explaining it in a really short version without going to spoilers. That's really how much you can explain it, because it's one of those films you really roll with it as it goes on. And as I mentioned in the beginning, this is Guy Ritchie really going back to his tried and trusted genre. So if you don't know, he's been renowned for these kind of British comedy caper styles, gangster movies where you do get a lot of foul language, you get a lot of violence, but the tone of it is very much more of humour and comedy, right? It's got a much more of a crowd-pleasing feel as opposed to maybe your Scorsese or a Tarantino, right? So if you liked the likes of Lock, Stock and Smoking Barrels or Snatch, or more recently Rock and Roller or Revolver, that's the kind of territory we're heading out in here. So just on a basic level, if you kind of like those movies, you're going to enjoy this movie. As I said, it's got a very crowd-pleasing feel. All the characters, really, they have fun with their roles. And again, there's no real kind of nasty characters in this, very psychotic or serious-minded characters. They've all got that comic kind of edge to them, which I think, allows you to kind of integrate into this story very easily. Just enjoy these characters and just let the story flow. And you're just in there watching a mystery unfold and just watching how these characters react to certain situations. They're all flawed. They all make mistakes. They all make out as if they're in control of certain aspects, but they're not really. They're constantly making mistakes and messing up here and there. And watching these characters get themselves in these scenarios and trying to get themselves out of it can be a kind of enjoyable to watch. Like I said, all the actors, they really have a ball with it. I think the best performances for me in particular were Hugh Grant, and he's great. And this is one of the examples where this is an actor going against type. We normally associate Hugh Grant playing the kind of bumbling, charming, romantic lead if you look at Four Weddings or Notting Hill, right? This is a complete change for Hugh Grant. The language and the kind of phrases he uses. It's a very different tone for the character. And I think it's always great when you see actors try something different and go against the grain and do something that, you know, coming out of their comfort zone, if you like. And Hugh Grant was great in that. He was one of the best performances. Colin Farrell as well. I think, you know, yeah, he's a versatile actor. He's done a number of different projects. You know, I think he's a solid actor overall. And again, he's a very much for an extroverted character. He's his role, if you like. He gets involved in the gangster antics of it, but he really wants to. He's in charge of this group of kids, and he wants to put them on the right path. And it's always funny how the deeper he gets involved, the deeper he gets the kids involved in what's going on here. But he's a very good, you know, very funny, very energetic kind of character as well. And I think he must have enjoyed this because he gets to exhibit a much more of a free personality, you know, exaggerated personality throughout on there. You know, Matthew McConaughey, he's solid in the role as a very kind of more assured character. He's a very likable gangster. You know, that's what I felt. You know, you never felt as this is a gangster that's kind of out of control. This isn't kind of like a typical Goodfellas or a Scarface kind of gangster lead. You know, he's a very much relaxed and if you like, very approachable, very, you know, easy to understand type of character on here. So all the actors played their roles very well. And like I said, on a basic crowd pleasing level, you can watch The Gentleman and be, you know, entertained over it all. I think if we're going to go what's maybe the issues here, I think again, a lot of the problem with Guy Ritchie and these kind of gangster films is that there's no real weight to it. It's very kind of throwaway and disposable. Most of these films are kind of just watch once and I don't really go back to it again because no real memorable or distinctive sequence or distinctive story arcs within these films. They just go about their business. Like I said, they do this, they do that, and you're not really engaged as such in the story. It's more like a gimmick, if you like, rather than a cohesive plot. And Tarantino is guilty of this as well. And I think the difference between Guy Ritchie and Scorsese is that Scorsese, you know, like Guy Ritchie has these quick edits, lots of soundtracks, lots of characters, lots of editing where we go back and forth and we see the character's backstory and then we fast forward to the plot here, fast forward to the plot here. But the difference is Scorsese's characters have weight to it. His stories have weight to it. You're actually compelled by these characters. They actually feel like, if like, proper personalities, proper people. We don't get that with Guy Ritchie's, and maybe that's by design. And if Guy Ritchie wants to continue in that vein, fair enough. And if you enjoy that kind of film, then there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I'd like to see just a bit more substance to his movies. And again, like I said, with Gentleman, I'm just watching it unfold and I'm entertained, but I'm not really gripped. I don't really care a lot about these characters, you know, overall. You could have taken these characters out and switched them with a whole lot of characters and it wouldn't have made any difference due to the overall story. And I think another thing that really annoyed me a lot within this was, again, just the constant back and forth of the narrative. So we get a turn of events here and then we jump forward to a different time on here and then we jump forward to an event here and it kind of really disorientating. You kind of, it wasn't confusing, but it's quite, just let the story flow and let the film story just progress more naturally. And there was all these quick cuts and back and forth and everything. You know, Birds of Prey as well more recently, that was guilty of this as well. And again, I talk about this a lot, as this is how directors feel they can keep the viewer engaged, but I think it kind of disengages you from the action. Another thing that just slightly annoyed me a bit, you had this whole narrative where every character was double crossing and triple crossing each other, and one character was 2 steps ahead of each other, but actually no, you're not good because I was 3 steps ahead of you. Well, actually no, I knew about the shoe 2 months ago, so I took this plan. Well, actually no, I knew this secret about you 2 weeks ago, so I'm 2-3 steps ahead of you there. So everybody's just kind of 2-3 steps ahead of each other, and it takes away the tension. What you want to do is have characters, they're in a situation and then they're trapped and then they don't know what to do. So they're trying to figure it out for themselves. So instead of being maybe 2 steps ahead of someone, maybe they're 2 steps behind someone, right? And then you generate more tension there because you think, how are they going to work their way out of this? They don't know what to do. Everybody's against them. They don't know who's for them and who's trying to kill them as such. So how are they going to get out of this scenario? I think that's how you generate tension a bit more. But with Gentlemen, everybody's just kind of 1 step ahead of each other and just everybody's kind of too smart for their own good. They're all too knowing for their own good, and it just takes away the tension of everything. There's one moment, there's one tense sequence, again, not spoiling, but it's essentially a chase to get to a certain point, and that was the one time in the movie that, but yeah, you are on the edge of your seat. You are kind of, what's going to happen here? And I just think the movie would have benefited if it had a couple of moments or sequences like this. You could still have the kind of comedic and humorous tone. And, you know, some of the jokes worked for me. And like I said, there was a certain likability throughout this movie that you'll never kind of not enjoying it, but I just wanted maybe a bit more to it. So I would like to see Guy Ritchie try maybe just a bit more depth in this movie if he's going to stay on this gangster genre on here. But overall, a very mildly entertaining, at least again, if you liked his previous movies within the gangster genre, then I think you're going to enjoy Gentleman. You know, it's a film where you could just put on in the background, just have it on there if you're going to do other things, and just flit in between, and you'll be mildly entertained. There's no real overly negative issues on here. So if I'm going to give an overall score for Gentleman, I'll probably give it a 6.7 out of 10. Like I said, just entertaining, crowd pleasing, but not a lot of weight and substance to it. Not really memorable. I think it's just one of them films you watch once and that's it, you go away. You're not really going to talk about it as such within a couple of months to a year. And I would just like to see Guy Ritchie go with a bit more. You know, all the actors are very likeable, all the performances are very likeable. You can tell they all had fun with this, and it's always good when you can have actors enjoying their roles and having fun with the movie, because that makes you as a viewer have more fun with the movie, right? But I just want to see a bit more from Guy Ritchie going forward. He can do other genres or other movies, as I've mentioned before, but if you want to stick to this gangster film, let's just see a bit more weight to it, like Scorsese does with his movies. But that's my quick overall view of The Gentleman. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it as much? How did you compare it to his previous other gangster films, like I said, Lock, Stock or Revolver or Rock and Roller? Did you think it was good as those films? Did you think it was better? Would you like to see Guy Ritchie try and do something else? Or are you happy with him staying in his kind of wheelhouse, if you like? So let me know what you think in the comments below. Please share and like and subscribe as I continue with this channel. Stay safe for now. Keep washing your hands. Hopefully we can get over this ongoing issue very soon. And those are my thoughts on The Gentleman. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.